Hey there. This video is going to be for Brett, Zach, and Matt. All right, so let's get started with yours, Brett. Going to look over your um, ad and your slides real quick. Sorry, like this. Okay, that's obviously your new ad based on this one. Okay, you got some drawovers. And then talking about your ad. Okay. Okay, let's see. 1, 2. All right, so we have 4 slides right now. So remember, you do need to have 6 of them. So make sure you get a few extra ones in there that talk about your design. Okay, Jackson had a few ideas for you. Oh, and you said you already plan on doing all of this. So let me see what you already plan on doing. Hue and saturation. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not going to probably be able to read all of that right now, but so I might end up repeating myself. Obviously, you're going to clean this up. I like that it's coming out of that green stem on the tomato. That's clever. I think someone mentioned moving this down here. I think the assignment says you need to have a logo. Let me check. Find and use logo of company. Okay, so I think you do need to put a logo in there. So maybe you can tuck a small logo in the corner or even up here in the sky. So just be sure to grab a ping, try to find a ping file for Heinz, and that'll be really nice and easy because the background will be transparent. That'll make your life a lot easier. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a lot to change. I think once you make this, try to make it look as seamlessly blended as you can, like it's actually coming out of that stem, because that's the real work of Photoshop in this assignment, is making these 2 images go together. So once you do that, once you fix 1 or 2 of the things that I see mentioned down there about the typography and make sure you get a logo in there, I think this ad will be off to a really good start. Okay, your slides are looking a little rough. I think we need to think about the color a little bit. I don't know if this highly saturated blue with this highly saturated red and then the yellow is really visually pleasing. It's almost like it's just too many colors. And then having the writing in this yellow, see how it looks a little bit fuzzy around the writing? That could be just because it's posted on Facebook, but it also sometimes if you have a light yellow that's highly or light color that's highly saturated on a highly saturated background, you'll get something that's like a visual buzz where around the words it looks a little bit fuzzy, and it's not actually the letter themselves, it's around it because you have this kind of intensity of color. And so it might be better to try to introduce some gray, some white, some black. Okay, I would say at least the background or this box should be one of those neutral colors, or a deep green like this or this kind of gold. Maybe that could be your color scheme that you model the whole thing after, something that's from the image. Black, white with this green or this gold would look really nice. I probably wouldn't go red because of the so much red that's already in here. So say you have, like this kind of brownish gold background, and then maybe you make this type box white, and then you could do yellow, then that would be fine. One thing I would recommend is make sure you always take the stroke off any shape. That's instantly going to date your design. And then if you have this shape box bumping right up against your ad, this is called a tangent. When you have, and see, you have the letters even overlapping onto the ad too. So this is all too close for comfort. Each element you need to think of separate and deserving its own space to breathe. Okay, so these letters need space to breathe between where they end and where your shape ends. Your shape needs space to breathe between where it ends and where your ad ends. So each of these need to be in their own a little bit of space. Okay, so usually at least 1 letter, if not more, between where your word ends and where the edge of the shape box that it's in at ends. Okay. And then I might pull your draw over. I might actually pull it off of the ad. So you have a nice, crisp, clean box kind of maybe in this space, just like You could make it a little bit taller and a little bit thinner, which would look nice. And then your yellow lines could come off of the ad and point to the element that you're talking about. Then I'd love to see you introduce some contrast. Remember the power of contrasting typography. You have opportunity to play around with that here. And see, you even have it in this Heinz ad. See their logo, it's all big, bold, all caps. And then this looks like it italics. This is not bold. This is a sans serif, really thin weight. And so, and then this is a sans serif too. Okay, so play around with, look at this ad if you need some help in discovering what kind of typefaces you want to use and how you want to use them. You could have something nice and bold like this that says, graphics or images or overall ad, something. You have a little bit of title, and then you have your one sentence about this and your one sentence about that. Make sure you're consistent too. See how this has a period and this doesn't. And then remember the principle we learned in Illustrator is we always want to make sure we don't have any words that are by their lonesome. So background would be considered a widow in this context. And so make sure you don't have any widows and you have consistency too. Okay, so once you work on those things, I think the placement of the ad is nice and your drawers are off to a good start. Just keep on making sure it looks super, super professional, and could be in a magazine spread, because that's kind of what you're employing, some of those things you learned in the magazine spread. Okay, so here we have this. Another thing I want to mention, consistency. See how this slide, you have a full bleed, but this one you don't. So you want to make sure they're similar. I would always vote for a full bleed, okay? Almost always. So I'd probably make this ad a full bleed like this one, and then apply some of those, well, almost all of those same things that you've applied on this slide to your other slides, okay? So yeah, just keep on working at it. I know you said I think you said it's a pretty rough draft, but keep on working at it. Make some of those changes. You'll be off to a good start, okay?